Sure, where to begin? Do you love me or not?
I don't.
You don't. Kiss me.
Kiss you.
I need to know something. Just one kiss.
Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts.
What's up, everybody? Nerd Brock coming at you, and man, I am so excited to finally talk to you about my favorite superhero movie of all time. You guessed it, Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 came out June 30th, 2004, as you can see in my wonderful poster, probably my favorite poster of that. I've got them all because I'm a nerd. But man, this probably was one of the most anticipated superhero sequels at the time, just because the first one was a major smash hit, and as you saw in the teaser trailer, it was just massively hyped, and Doc Ock as the villain, and just what was it going to be like, because audiences, including myself, were just ready for the next adventure. So the plot of this film, 2 years after Peter Parker was bit by the radioactive spider, he is trying to balance everything in his life, whether it's school, work, being Spider-Man, his love life, and this movie just gets the whole idea of Peter Parker that you've got to pound this guy. You cannot give him an easy time at all whatsoever. And this is where some of the greatest storylines of the comics come from, is some of the inspiration for stuff where the theme of this movie is no good deed goes undone, but I'm going to do the deed anyway. And that's totally the character of Spider-Man. And it's just, you right away from the opening scene, you just see Peter, everything that's going on. He's late to work. You know, he gets fired from his pizza job. You know, I love playing the video game too. I remember like delivering the pizzas and stuff and all that mission. You guys know what I'm talking about. Spider-Man 2, one of the best movie games of all time. And it's just, you see everything. He doesn't even know if it's his own birthday because he just is so busy. It's going on, and it's just, gosh, like, Spider-Man actually, it helps other people, but it actually costs him in his personal life, as we'll continue to see. But the villain of this one, honestly, I think besides Vulture and Spider-Man Homecoming, is probably the best Spider-Man villain of all time, and that's Alfred Molina as Doc Ock, aka Otto Octavius. Man, his portrayal of this character is so good. I literally watched this movie Saturday night, literally just a couple days ago, and it was just so cool to see how good of a villain he was. This tragic, scientist who got a little over his head with this project. His wife ended up dying, and he faced the consequences. But then these arms, which look really good CGI-wise still, and they're practical, which is really cool, start to take over, and he just kind of goes down this path of villainy and things like that. And all along, Peter Parker, who his friend Harry hates him, and not really knows that it's him because he's still taking pictures of Spider-Man, and Harry still thinks Spider-Man killed his dad, but he doesn't know he was the Green Goblin. Mary Jane is just constantly disappointed by Peter because he can't make an 8 o'clock curtain call to her show. She's an actress, her career's starting to take off, and then, hey, she's got a boyfriend he's seeing, and Peter just, this whole film, you just see how much it weighs on him. And I think that's one of the things I love in this film, is that you get to see, like, it's not all gung-ho. I still think probably why Tobey Maguire is my favorite Spider-Man, and in these movies especially, I love the MCU ones, but there's this time where it just slows down, where it's not all superhero stuff all go. Like, there's the slower moments that you get to see Peter Parker. He's broke, he can't pay rent. That's why Spider-Man's one of the most relatable characters, because he goes through everyday things like a lot of us do most times. Doesn't have enough to pay rent. He washes his Spider-Man suit in the laundromat, and it stains all of his clothes. He tries to make MJ's play, and then he gets stopped by a robber with a car, and that makes him late. Then the usher doesn't let him in. It's just like, gosh, right? And all these things start to take a toll on him because mentally he doesn't want to be Spider-Man anymore. And we see this in the movie where he starts to lose some of his powers and different things like that. And it's because he doesn't know if he wants to be Spider-Man. And eventually he does quit. It's that iconic comic image come to life in this movie, Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man number 50. And he puts the suit in the garbage and gives it up. And I remember seeing that. I'm like, my gosh. And again, when I watch movies, I try to watch them not from a nostalgia point, but just like actually watch them as a movie, and see if it still holds up. And this definitely does. And the rest of the cast is excellent in this movie, too. J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson is still one of the most perfectly cast comic book characters in a movie. Kirsten Dunst is pretty good as MJ as well. Harry, you get to see a little bit more of his range here and just kind of that distress and different things like that. You know, he has a really couple good scenes with Peter, like when he takes his anger out on him and different things like that. Rosemary Harris as Aunt May. Tobey Maguire again knocks it out of the park with Peter Parker. He's really good at just showing like that vulnerable state of and that emotion and that range that, you know, his life is in distress. He's just got so much going on, and you know, again, does he want to be Spider-Man, right? He doesn't want to be. And when he does quit, you start to see his life and how it progresses. He's, you know, getting to have time with his friends now. He's showing up to class on time. He gets to make MJ's play, and you know, he's just like that. One of my favorite scenes of the movie when he has like that vision or dream with Uncle Ben, and he's like, "No, Uncle Ben, I'm Spider-Man no more. You know, I'm in love with Mary Jane, and this is what I want to do." And it's crazy. In a Spider-Man film, he's not in the film for 30 minutes. I think that's just so cool because it slows down, and Peter starts to reflect on his life and really what he wants. And I think I want to see that in the future Spider-Man movies. I think they've kind of lost that a little bit. Just similar to those, like, yes, I love the jokiness of the MCU and not, but like, this just has time to slow down. You get to see from Peter Parker's perspective, whichever. And you just want to see Peter Parker win in this film at the end of the day. And when eventually he does come back as Spider-Man, that scene, it's really cool. Where, let me just talk about the action real quick. The action is still excellent. I'll get to the train sequence later, but that still holds up as the best Spider-Man action set piece of one movie. Whether it's the swinging, the cinematography just looks really better in this film too. Like if you watch Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2, it just looks better. But when he does come back as Spider-Man, he gets his Spidey sense back in that cafe when the car's thrown at him. I know you think, if he's trying to find Spider-Man through Peter Parker, why is he hurling a car at him? He's just a crazy villain, Doc Ock. You know, it's not that big of a plot hole to him. But just some of these iconic moments when he does get it back and he has his glasses, they go up and they go down. He realizes he can see again because when he lost his powers, he needed his glasses back, and then he just clenches his fist. He's like, I'm ready to go after Doc Ock. But the fight that they have even before that at the bank is really cool. Just them fighting on the building and different things like that in New York, which is awesome, while Doc Ock has Aunt May kidnapped. You know, she hits him with the umbrella. It's really cool. But let's get to it. The train fight. And I actually don't even... The train fight itself is amazing. But the fight before it doesn't really get enough credit too, I think, as well. When they're fighting on the clock tower and Spider-Man's literally throwing a clock hand at Doc Ock and shooting web balls. It's just freaking epic. But when they get to the train fight, I tell you, the action has not been topped in this yet, really, the Spider-Man movie. Director Sam Raimi of this movie does a really good thing where there's a lot of CGI. He tries to blend it with a practical shot as soon as he can, just so that you're not taken out of the movie so much. But the train fight, it's good. They go on the train, on the side of the train, Spider-Man gets smacked off, then he webs back up on the train, which I still love, like him, you know, street riding on the street, even though his butt probably did hurt pretty bad after, you know, skating on a little bit. Anyway, but then when it gets to the part 2 where Peter has to stop the train, I know there's a lot of memes of the Tobey Maguire's face. I think it's great. It is so intense. It is just like he is gonna give it all, and when he falls, I think it's just so cool to see like the passengers in New York. They grab him and they kind of like, you know, Jesus him back on the train and whatnot, and then they put him down and they're like, we see Spider-Man's face, and you wonder what they're going to do with it. And then one of the best lines in all superhero movie, I really think, is when that guy says, he's just a kid. He's no older than my son. They realize, like, this is just a guy. A kid, literally. You know, I know Tobey Maguire's a little bit older, but the character itself, who's just Spider-Man. Like, you know what? We'll never tell. And I just think that's just so fantastic. My only little gripes I probably would have with the film is I do think they do repeat a lot of stuff from the first movie, like the burning building sequence. That's a little cheesy. When he saves the little girl and the little girl pulls him up, I don't know if I buy that per se. Just kind of, I think you could probably cut that whole section out and it really wouldn't even matter. It would save the film some time. And then also, too, I think Mary Jane is a little just too hard on Peter sometimes. Like, he's an adult too. Like, his whole life does not revolve around her as much as she likes to probably think it does. And I just think a couple times she's a little too harsh. Now, Peter is a jerk and disappoints her, but it doesn't really call for some of her rash behavior, I think, sometimes. But if that's the only two nitpicks, honestly, it's fine. But this film's in a fantastic way to where, finally, after seeing Peter Parker go through everything he goes through, Mary Jane finds out that he's Spider-Man. There's just like this huge weight that's lifted off. You're just like, finally, like, he gets a win. Like, he can not have to hide the secret. Doc Ock eventually, does turn good. And after Peter kind of brings back that thing he said to him, like, intelligence, it's a gift, it's a privilege to use for the good of mankind. And, like, he realized, like, I haven't been doing that. And he gives him that speech that Aunt May gave him, which is really cool. And at the end, Peter tries to tell Mary Jane, like, we can never be. I can't be with you because I'm always going to be Spider-Man. I'm always going to have enemies and foes. And I think what's cool is a lot of people try to say, like, MJ's just damsel in distress, and she does get kidnapped through all three of these films, but she is going to get married, but she leaves the altar and goes to Peter and is like, listen, like, I make my own decisions. I want to take that risk, Like, I love that line, isn't it time somebody saved your life? That's just a perfect way to describe the scenario. And just to see Peter Parker finally get a win, it's just such a cool moment. And like the final swing, it's heroic. I still love the final swing. I love everything about this movie still. I really do. It still holds up 16 plus years later, but it's just heroic. But then the ending shot with MJ where she's like, oh crap, so this is what it's going to be like, him leaving off, to be a hero. But just even the final shot of Spidey swinging, like the police cars, the helicopters, like they're behind him, the city's behind him, the world is finally behind Peter Parker for once in his life. Honestly, I can talk this movie all day. It's still my favorite Spider-Man movie of all the Spider-Man movies, and I just think why I love it so much is it just has so much heart. I think that's why I love Sam Raimi's trilogy so much, even though it ended on a sour note. We'll get to that later. But this one specifically is still regarded as one of the best superhero movies, if not the best, because it has heart. It has those dramatic moments. We relate to our hero. We want our hero to win. Not that you don't anyway, but like Peter Parker just has it so bad that when he gets those little wins, like you relate and you cheer on this character. Me, literally out loud, as I saw this in the movie theaters this past Saturday when I saw it again. But for me, Spider-Man 2 is still the best Spider-Man movie. People may agree with that. You may throw Tom Holland there. He just hasn't hit that epic levelness yet. We haven't had that traditional Spider-Man movie yet. And if we do, he'll be in contention. But for me, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi is still the best Spider-Man movie of all time. So, love to hear your guys' comments and what you guys think is the best Spider-Man movie, who you guys think is the best Spider-Man actor. I am going to continue my MCU movies as well. I just had to throw this one in here because the anniversary was it's coming up in a couple days, June 30th, and I got a chance to see it again. I still go back to this movie every year, once or twice, and it still just gives me the chills. It still is my favorite, honestly, superhero movie as well. And if you haven't checked it out, I definitely recommend. So, can't wait to talk about all my MCU-ness and different things like that. If you guys haven't, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I've enjoyed chatting with you. This has been your friendly neighborhood nerd. We'll see ya. Bye.